What is going on? Welcome back. Third and 20 podcast, episode 67. My name is Frank Entwistle. We got the main man himself, Mr. Steed. Steed, how you doing? What's going on?
Doing great, dude. Feeling great, honestly. Huge week last week, college-wise betting, but also the Dirty Birds, the true Dirty Birds get their first dub and only dub of the season.
Yeah, that's the Atlanta Falcons for those who don't know. Big win over the Giants. That was a grinder of a football game. One of those teams had to win.
Yeah,
Let's
we
start
should have
off with
won.
college football, though, because kind of a really interesting week for college football. Let's start off with what people were expecting to be one of the closer games, one of the more interesting games, Wisconsin against Notre Dame. First thing that
Mm,
has to be said is, wow, Graham Mertz is trash. He's a
bad
quarterback that
trash.
I liked coming into the season. I mean, that first game he had 5 touchdowns, almost no incompletions. What happened to that, Graham Mertz? Because he finally threw his first touchdown, but it was accompanied by 4 interceptions and a blowout loss in a game that they were favored in.
Almost a
What the
touchdown,
hell
too.
happened?
Dude, well, we should have gotten a good taste of what this Wisconsin kind of team is after that Penn State. Now, like, people could have said, like, okay, well, the Penn State defense is legit, but Notre Dame's defense is no slouch either. But yeah, Graham Mertz, the reason why I forget the quarterback's name that transferred to Notre Dame, he just played.
Jack Cohn.
Jack Cohn. The reason why he transferred is because they told him, "Hey, listen, Mertz, who played one game last year because before he got COVID and had an impressive showing, they were like, listen, we're gonna roll with this guy. This is the highest rated quarterback prospect of Wisconsin history." The dude simply hasn't performed, and I don't think he's going to continue to perform. Confidence has to be at all-time low. This is not like an unusual Wisconsin team we're used to. Now, is Wisconsin going to be a top 5 team in the country? No, but usually top 15, float around 9-3, 10-2, and have a fight in that Big Ten championship. We're not going to see that this year. This team's going to struggle to make a bowl if they keep on playing like that.
Well, the interesting thing that I have about
Their defense is
Wisconsin,
good.
yeah, that's the thing I'm going to mention is that the scoreline is not going to show that they were in this game most of the game.
Oh, it was a terrible game.
And let's not act like Jack Cohn, the Notre Dame
Oh,
quarterback, the transfer from Wisconsin.
their backup is better than him.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing I was going to say. The best quarterback on the field was Drew Pine,
Mm-hmm.
the what are the Notre Dame backup.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it was just a slugfest. The turnovers were the main reason why Notre Dame was able to score. And I mean, by the end of it, they just had all the momentum. Wisconsin had nothing left, and they started giving up touchdowns when they were gassed. The weird feeling I have is that I'm not really giving up on this Wisconsin team because of the fact that that defense is still really legit. And I think that they could get like Penn State, if they were to play again in a couple of weeks when I give them a chance to kind of start figuring things out on offense, if that ever happens, whether that's benching players, getting new guys in, or maybe Mertz finally starts putting it together because it's still kind of early in the season. I do think this Wisconsin team can be dangerous, but not with this offense. That's what needs to change. They just need something because this defense is so good. They can win against good teams. It's not like the scoreline does not do that game justice. They just need half of an offense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you look at it like a blowout. I will say this about Wisconsin: if they were to play Penn State again, I think Penn State beats them even worse. It's just like college football is a lot about momentum. And we you talk about week one where Penn State also didn't figure out their offense either. They pair up
True.
again like Wisconsin. They don't know where their offense is at. Penn State, they're more likely like, okay, we know how to score points and then let our defense play. Wisconsin's like, hey man, we need our defense to make a play and get us good field position because we can't move the ball 20 yards right now.
All right, let's move on though. Team that I like, a team that I was thinking about taking and maybe should have taken. I don't know, overtime win for Boston College over Mizzou. And I think this is an interesting game just because ACC seems wide open right now. Because, I mean, we can get into the big one, the big upset next. But
Mm.
BC 4-0, Mizzou, a scrappy team that 2-2 record. I don't really think does them justice. They had a
It
close
doesn't
win against
show.
Kentucky and a close win here. How legit do you think BC is?
BC coming the year was going to be that under the radar kind of team, and they still are. They're 4-0. I'm pretty sure they're the only undefeated team left in the ACC. No, in the ACC that won't stay long. I think Wake Forest might
Yeah.
be undefeated though, but and great win against Missouri because that game could go either way. It really could have, and Am I they contenders in the ACC? I guess I kinda have to because everybody else is just either losing just these crappy games or Clemson is just Clemson's not gonna be there this year, you know? So, I think they are contenders. They had that quarterback with that big guy we like a lot there too.
Oh, BC?
Yeah.
Well, Grossel, this other quarterback, was playing for him over my guy Phil Yurkovec, but the main star of the show is this running back, Pat Garwo.
Mm,
Um, had a 67-yard run, 25 carries, 175 yards, averaging 7 a clip. Had another 2 touchdowns.
that's a good day.
Yeah, good day for BC running the football in an overtime win. Next game, let's get into Iowa State are officially frauds. I mean, they were kind of already officially frauds, but they are officially frauds.
Mhm.
A loss to Baylor, right? It was a Baylor loss.
Yeah, that was upset coming.
Man, I like this Iowa State team coming in. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I still like a lot of their players, but what the fuck happened last night? They were
I don't
top
know.
10 coming into the season. They can't buy a win.
Well, yeah, and it was a reason why I wasn't buying into this team completely. Even though their roster was really good, you got the quarterback coming back, you got Brees Hall, you got some playmakers. It's just like they've never like had the history of repeating good seasons, right? They've really never had the history of having a good season, anyways. And we come in this year, and I think now we're like COVID, especially during the COVID protocols are like relinquished or not as strict during this college football season, and we're kind of back at that full force. I think you're just seeing them who they are. They're getting put in these ringer of games. Baylor is always ever since Matt Rule's been there, was there and built that program back up. Even last year, Baylor is a very in the Big 12 even like they're one of the more physical defenses, and they're going to smash you in the mouth, and that's what they did. I mean, again, Iowa State, they're they're not going to be here. This team will be lucky to go 7-5, 8-4.
I mean, yeah, they're struggling just to go 500 right now, and I mean that's a big statement win for Baylor. Baylor is a
They got
I don't want
ranked
to say
now.
an over or an underrated 4-0 just because they really haven't played anyone besides this Iowa State team. Big win though, nonetheless. Like you said, probably expect to see the little number next to them. But let's get into the big game. Clemson with an L to NC State. I got to give you credit. You really like the NC State spread. I mean, I kind of agree with you just because this Clemson offense is god awful.
Mhm.
Didn't show up this game. And what's crazy to think about is Clemson coming into the season minus 850 to win the ACC.
Well, if you took any other team, you're making some money because like they're not going to win the
Whoa.
ACC.
Yeah, think about the odds that you're getting on one of these NC State, BC. I mean, you probably got pretty damn good odds on any one of these teams. You were getting huge, like in the thousands, right?
Yeah, you still got Wake Forest could be a sleeper team too. I mean, they're ranked and they're playing really well. Even the nerds, like the nerds keep on rattling
Georgia
off some.
Tech are the nerds.
I do like. I like the nerds. They were my sleeper team coming in. They just beat the hell out of
All right,
North
we can
Carolina.
get into that Georgia Tech game next. Let's talk about this Clemson loss. What is the problem with? I mean, obviously the problem is their offense, but like, it's not just on the quarterback, in my opinion. When you were a Clemson and you were underperforming this much, like, okay, obviously a lot of the blame is on the quarterback, but I think it's just plain and simple. This offense is just not as talented as any of the Clemson offenses in the past.
Right, and it should be because 'cause they're all 5 stars, right? Like, it should be like where you pick it up with Bama and Georgia and all them and Clemson in the past, like, yeah, you don't have that elite quarterback like you had in T-Law, but you should be able to pick up where you were. Even when they had what's his
They
name?
can't run the ball either. It's not like they just can't pass the ball. This is a terrible run offense too. If
Dude,
they play
every
against any
from head to
halfway
toe.
decent team,
Head and toe, that offense is horrible, and a lot of people were, like, waiting for it to spark, and it's one big reason why I took NC State is maybe the offense is just never gonna be good, you know? They got a
outside of
top.
Justin Ross, dude, this team is garbage. Or
Yeah,
not the team, the
Justin Ross is
offense.
the only player in that offense worth a damn, and still, that touchdown to tie the game in OT, that little 4th down, low key, like, I thought DJ Ukulele made a decent throw. I thought he coulda caught it. It was kinda weird, like, he, like, went like this and then just kinda gave up. I don't know, like, maybe he didn't really track it all the way, but I thought it was a decent throw, like, it was kinda right on the money or in a spot where, you can make a play. I just think the whole offense in general is just not on the same page, and everybody else is, and now that you're Clemson and getting put in the national press not winning games, I think everybody's sputtering, and it's just putting more and more pressure because they knew coming to NC State, even with T-Law, this is a team that always plays them tough. You got to play at NC State. I just think the pressure got to them and to continue their offensive woes.
I think the other like big question, like looking forward from this game, is I mean, is this quarterback going to get benched or is Dabo going to stick? I mean, because he has talent. It's not like
Oh, the talent's there.
Ukulele doesn't have talent.
Go turn on the Notre Dame game from last year. You can see why Clemson was still, like, really high on this kid. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the video of Dabo, like, flying him in the plane, and they're driving over Clemson Stadium. It's like, that's where you're gonna be throwing touchdowns. I mean, he's only thrown, like, 1 in there so far, so it's been a little tough, but, maybe more will come. Maybe he'll double it next week. Who knows?
Listen. I really don't know what to think of this Clemson team. I'm actually like, what about them going forward now? Is this team
Well,
gonna just suck the rest of the season?
this is where I get at, is because, like, the defense is elite, right? Their defense is still really good, but as a defensive unit, when you see your offense sucking this much and you have to make play after play, when is it where you become a little lackluster and just start saying, "Hey, man, they ain't doing the other side of the ball ain't doing their job, so why should we go full one hundo?" I I mean, I've seen it in teams in past with terrible offenses and makes the defense look worse. It could be the same thing here.
Okay, so they have Boston College next week. That's definitely a game that I'm going to be looking
Yeah,
forward to.
that'd be a good
Boston College
game.
is a team I like.
What time is it at?
That is a 7:30 game.
Oh, perfect. Probably on ESPN.
And maybe the Gamecocks got a chance this year. Maybe they got a chance.
That
Doubt,
offense is
but
just worse than Clemson, but maybe the
just
battle.
terrible
I'll take the
offense.
under that game.
Okay, so let's get into another team that we like. That's Arkansas. Arkansas, once again, I'm going to say it. My underrated team, the SEC. Have to victory lap that one. Big, huge win over Texas A&M. A commanding win. Got to say, Traylon Burks, absolute stud. We talked about him on the Dynasty podcast. I think right now he's my easy wide receiver one. Like, you cannot come away from that game and be like, "Holy crap, Traylon Burks can really play receiver." Um, Huge win. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, this is my thought. It's like, what's Arkansas going forward, right? Because they got the gauntlet of their schedule, and you've survived the first task. You've proven that you belong in this top 10 rank,
Now they
right?
have a target on them though. They're not,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's
now
little
teams are not
Arkansas."
teams are not going to sleep on you now, especially when you beat A&M. A&M, great defense. That defense is playoff ready. Now, if they had a quarterback, maybe it's a little different game because A&M was able to hang around a little bit. But you beat Texas, and you just saw what Texas just did last week to Texas Tech. You got to come into Athens, UGA. You're ranked 8, okay? Are you a playoff team, or are you just like that 9-3, 10-2, like one of those classic little Auburn teams, you know? Are we watching a college football playoff team? Or are we watching, a top 15 team? That's what I'm more interested in because now you get a face like, you know, one of the beast in the SEC.
Well, the other
And
thing too is that this like Georgia had basically had a bye week last week. They won. I don't even know who they played. They won like 62-0.
No, they play Vandy. They were up 35-0 first quarter.
So Arkansas and the Arkansas quarterback was hurt at the end of that game, if you remember. Like Arkansas is going to come in here licking their wounds, beat up, whereas Georgia basically had a bye week. Does that play a fact? Because this Georgia defense, holy crap! Like these players are just so physically talented. It's insane.
Well,
These
they got that.
linebackers are going sideline to sideline, and they're like 250 pounds.
Well, you want to talk about big? They got that one D lineman who's 350 pounds, and he's fastest person on the field.
Like what the hell?
I mean, that's just listen. Like when UGA got Kirby, we knew they would have because Kirby always had a top defense. Kirby is just a beast at recruiting in general, but also game planning and just having a stout defensive unit. It's a different task for Arkansas because A&M's defense is good, but it's not UGA good. And I'm ready to see that clash. I hate that, but this is where
There's no defense that's UGA good. UGA right now is in a class of their own with that defense. There's what other defense is in that realm?
I mean, we haven't seen like some of these top schools go against like upper echelon, but right now, yeah, UGA would
Well, who do
probably.
you think could possibly be close?
I still think Bama. I think they
I
had a
don't
little
buy it.
mix up against Florida,
Maybe. Okay, Florida
but like
because
again,
because they
let's
held Bama in check to a certain extent. What about
all
Penn
right,
State? Maybe.
maybe, but I don't think they have like the players like UGA. The thing I
That's
will
the
say
thing.
about UGA is like, what really good win do they have? Now looking at Clemson, what really good win do they have?
Well, I mean, this is their chance against Arkansas this week because they're playing a team that's like hot. It is. I think most people would easily say they're a top 15 in college football right now.
I mean, they're 8 right now.
Um, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, because like you now look at and like I don't really hate to dismount UGA. Like I like to trash on them as much as you can, but like now you look at the Clemson where you only beat them by 7, you didn't even score offensive touchdown. Like Clemson's barely in the top 25 right now, which is kind of
Yeah, but
crazy to
I'm not going to
think.
kill Georgia's defense for having a
I'm not
rough
gonna. I'm
day
not. I'm
week
not killing.
one against Clemson. You
No, they
know
had a
that.
great day week 1 against Clemson.
Well, I mean, did I say defense? I mean offense. I'm not gonna like, oh yeah, you didn't score a touch. Yeah, it stinks, but the Clemson defense is still good, and a week one game is still a week one game,
I'm just
right?
saying, everybody's deeming this UGA team as unbeatable, and I think they're beatable.
Yeah, they're definitely
I think
beatable,
there's
but
3 or 4 teams in the
dude,
SEC, and you wake up any day could beat them.
I think there is an argument that they're a stronger team than Bama. The only problem is that I would rather take the team with the better offense than the better defense, and Alabama's
Mm,
got the better offense.
yeah,
And they should be able to match Georgia physically to a certain extent, probably way better than any of these other teams can. Um, Rutgers against Michigan. Here we're going into your underrated team. Really, really encouraging performance from Rutgers. Only a 20-13 loss. I thought Rutgers did a really good job stymieing that really solid rushing attack from Michigan. I mean, it really does look like Rutgers is one of those teams that you just do not want to play.
you don't wanna play him. Listen, the Shiano man is just he's a great guy. He's a great coach. Like, I would if I was a recruit and Rutgers came calling, and if he pitched me like, "Hey, man, we're building something special, like, we want you to pave the way," I would have to give it a look. Now, like, I don't know Rutgers as well as you, and what I've heard through the Turbine, it's not as the sexiest school to go to, or
No, it's not.
so, like, I could see, like, why that deems, like, why they lose him. But, like, the thing is, like, even with these, like, 3-star recruits as their best recruits, they are fighting in these games. They're in these games, and they're deemed for a big upset coming soon. Maybe it's against Penn State. Maybe it's against Michigan State. I just you're right. This is a team you don't wanna play because the Shiano man's gonna play physical, and he's gonna have those guys ready.
Yeah, they're just not that team that you're like.
They're not the Rutgers. This is more like the Rutgers team when Shiano first got there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not as elite where they were going 11-2 or whatever that one season, but you can see it last year too when they would cover some games. It's kind of like Arkansas. Arkansas is now taking the next huge step,
Hmm.
but Rutgers is now starting to become like kind of into it. I mean, it's just like that. I mean, I'll save this after the end of all the recap of the games.
Okay, on the other side of the ball, Michigan. Is it going to be the same problem with this Michigan team where it's like this lackluster quarterback play is what's going to keep them out of being one of these top teams in college football?
Yeah, the thing about Michigan, I still think Michigan has like where they want to be. They're still the under the radar kind of
Yeah.
team, right? And
But you
the
can't tell me
first
you were
time,
encouraged by what that offense was showing against Rutgers. I'm expecting a
I
game
mean, when
against
was the last
Rutgers. I
time we
want to
saw
put up 30
Harbaugh?
points, 27 points.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, he only put up 20, but when was the last time Harbaugh just had this explosive offense there? It's been one on the ground and playing solid D. Is because he's never been able to have that really good quarterback come in. And I think this season is no difference. Maybe it's a little better. They'll definitely be fighting the Big Ten now that Ohio State is kind of like, even last week, I know they benched Stroud or CJ Stroud or whatever. I'm still not bought on that team. But I don't know. It's a lot of toss up in these conferences where we're not expecting toss ups.
Yeah. Okay, we can touch on that Ohio State game really quickly because I'm not sure if you caught any of it, but I'm not even sure benching Stroud was the right decision. Like, listen,
I thought they
I'm
were
a
just
big
resting
Quinn
him.
Ewers guy, but I really don't think Stroud is necessarily a bad quarterback or the problem with that Ohio State team.
I think the problem with the Ohio State team is that they can't stop the run.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. I don't like if, when in doubt,
That Oregon game, I'm thinking back, dude. The holes in that game, just the fact that
even
Oregon beat them on one play, like for 3 touchdowns.
take it back to week 1 against Minnesota. That was a clear example. Like, okay, this this rushing defense is not as good as it used to be. Like we don't have the Chase Youngs or the Bosa's anymore. You know, but like the offense will always play because you got Chris Olave,
You
you
have
got
to play. The thing is that Ohio State to me is just one of those classic. We're gonna line up with our 5-star insane athletes and just beat you, and it's worked because they've recruited so well. It's like Georgia, right? Like they have had the team that Georgia has right now every season with a better offense, and it's like okay, if we just take Bama out of the equation, Ohio State is Bama, in my opinion, right? They're just insane. But now that you actually don't have ridiculousness across your entire D line and you don't have a top quarterback prospect, it's like the whole program is we're losing to Oregon's and struggling now. Seriously?
and Oregon's not as
Benching
good.
quarterbacks and crap. What the fuck is
I
going on?
they were playing Akron, dude. I think they were kind of just resting him or doing something. I don't think they benched him because of his play. I would find that kind of. I don't think Ryan Day would do that. As a Ryan Day fan,
I don't know. If I
I
think
think
he can
it's.
use the
I think
reps.
he.
Like I don't know why I didn't hear about any injury thing.
Well, I think that's what he benched him for was not because he's injured, but kind of like, yo, we don't need to lose our quarterback
Yeah,
against
but
Akron.
dude, with the way you guys have been playing, you need all the reps you could freaking get.
I don't know. I'm not in the court.
There is
I'm not
no
in the
excuse for that team.
room.
Like, listen, I understand that Oregon's a good team, but without Thibodeau, like, there's no excuse for Ohio State to not steamroll every team. There's just not. I think they're getting out coached though. I like, yeah, the talent's not as there as it has been. Oh, sorry, you don't have the best roster in college football. Boo hoo. But like, I don't know. I'm just not impressed with. I feel like they're getting out schemed a whole lot. Auburn. Speaking of scares, Georgia State, Auburn.
That
Whew.
scoreline doesn't do justice on that game.
Yeah, Georgia State was ahead for most of that football game, and
They were ahead until like the last 3 seconds.
Auburn, man, what the hell happened last night? Because it's not like Georgia State's like a Fresno, right? Where it's like, oh, you're having a scare, but like, oh yeah, that's a good
No, that
football
was a
team.
scare.
They're
That's
not
like
even like Georgia State is a bad football team. Coming into this game, they were defeated. This is a bad football team. And you're Auburn. You have like sick players. This is not a talent, and you almost lose this game. What the hell?
I think it comes down to quarterback play.
Yeah, it's just
Is the reason
listen. Bo
why I
Nix
was
has all the talent in the world, but if you can't put it together, you can't put it together, and if you can't play, you can't play.
you could see from day one when he played Oregon and everybody was over here patting him on the back because he made one good throw in that game, that he was something special. This kid's never had it. Okay. The reason why he was a starting quarterback for these first couple of years at Auburn is because Gus Malzahn loves him and his family because they used to go to these quarterback camps and he always wanted them. Okay. It was daddy ball from the beginning. And I'm so glad the old coach from Boise State, I forget his name, is now the coach, has the balls to be like, hey, man, you suck, and benches him and puts in somebody else because it's about time. And that dude's like huge too. He's like 6'7". Like he's massive. And he made a good because like the play to tie up the game or take the lead against Georgia State, it, it was like fourth down. It was a broken play. He ran out, shoved a tackle, and just threw it up. And then they come down with a little insane play, and then
Mhm.
then you get the pick six, and then game's over.
Yeah, really, really wild. Not expected whatsoever. Um, what were they? They had to have been like a 30-35 point favorite coming in, right?
Oh yeah, probably 28 at the least.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. The other thing with the allure of Bo Nix is just the physical talents, right? You watch him play, and you're like, okay, he can make
Well,
all the
now the question,
throws. He's
yeah,
fast as he's like one of the faster guys on the field. He's big. You just feel like you can mold him. But yeah, enough's enough. He's done.
I wonder if he comes back. That's the thing. Do you play him?
Okay, so UCLA gets back on track against Stanford. Stanford, that win's not going to look very sexy because you're going to look at the Stanford record and be like, okay, they're a meddling Pac-12 team. I think that Stanford is still an underrated team. Um, and
I
like
wouldn't
this
want to
is a
play him.
good win for UCLA to get back on track to being one of those top teams in the Pac-12 and really fighting for the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, I mean, listen, UCLA. I think they did take Fresno State for granted, and that's a really good team. And if you take a really good team for granted, more than likely they'll come up on top.
I mean, Fresno just made some plays too. It's not like they're a bad. They just, dude, both offenses were hot at the end of the game
Hmm.
for that Fresno loss.
But like, listen, at the end of the day, if your goal is just to win the Pac-12 championship, and if your only loss is against a ranked Fresno State team, like there might be some the way the college football is shaping this year, you might have some leeway to get into the into the playoff. But you got a big game this week because Arizona State is still a team I don't want to play. I know Arizona State is on the road, but I thought Arizona State was another team to get back on track last week with an impressive
Yeah,
win.
they
But
beat Colorado, right?
yeah, destroy Colorado, just pounded them.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two teams fighting for the Pac-12 right now. Those two.
Not a believer in Oregon. Oregon State.
I do like Oregon State as an underdog. Listen, I'm not buying into Oregon. I don't know if anybody watched that Arizona game, but I turned it on for a little bit because I saw Arizona was like in that game. Like it was 24-19 at a point. Arizona is one of the worst teams, not only in the Pac-12, but in college football. And Oregon struggle with them. Now the score ain't gonna the ending of that game
Yeah, they
won't
won
show it,
41-19. I didn't catch any of that football game.
but like it was going into the fourth quarter. It was like 24-19. I think Arizona had the ball. I think they finally hit the gas pedal and won the game. But Oregon's beatable. Like
Yeah, you're
great
right.
win against Ohio State, but the way I look at Ohio State, I don't see it as like you just knocked off Bama or something really anymore. You
Well,
know,
yeah, I mean, I think if you go up against a coaching staff that has any sort of scheme changes
I
at
think
any point in the game when you're getting beat, you're not just going to be able to run the football a crap ton over a good football team. And I think Chip Kelly is one of those coaches that is creative and especially on defense with his run fronts. I think that he's pretty good. So I agree with you there at least that in a UCLA Oregon matchup, I think I'd be taking UCLA.
I 100% am. I was about to talk about that. October 23rd, Oregon's at UCLA.
Whew.
You know that's gonna be 10:30 at night. Game day possibly could be there, maybe. I don't know the last time they did a Pac-12 game because Pac-12's just been buns, but, it's getting better.
Pac-12 is electric this year. I was so excited for the Pac-12
It's been
games, and
good,
it is not disappointed.
but UCLA is a team that, if Oregon comes in there and they keep on playing shoddy, UCLA could easily upset them. And then, if you're UCLA, you want Oregon to keep winning. So
Mhm.
you have that repertoire. If you beat them, you beat a top four school team.
Yep.
That looks great on your resume. You win the Pac-12, you're probably in.
Okay. Speaking of upsets, UNC upset by Georgia Tech.
The
As Steed
nerds.
referenced, the nerds. Um, Sam Howell, man, just not it.
Eh, I mean, it's crazy. The quarterbacks that got the most hype coming in, how um, Radler, you know, they're not in the hype anymore because they just played bad, like, Howard had a good game 2 weeks ago, I think he threw for 5 touchdowns, but, this is just he's too inconsistent, and after the Nerds played Clemson really tough, this doesn't surprise me at all. Like, Georgia Tech was one of my underrated teams coming in. They were my sleeper team in the ACC. They don't run the triple option anymore. Now that they got a couple full recruiting classes now that kind of fit their new system. They're going to play spoiler in some of these games, and which is great because the ACC is so wide open. Like minute here, we're going to think Wake Forest is like, oh, they could win the ACC, and then here come the nerds play interrupt in that. So like, I think it's just great for football, honestly.
Well, the interesting thing about this football game to me was that it was like a tale of, what happens in college football if you just can't run the football at all. UNC, who last year had easily one of the more dynamic running attacks in all of college football,
I mean, they
and
had two backs going first 110 picks. So
yeah, and their offensive line was suspect at times last year. There were times where I mean they were powerful, but they were definitely suspect, especially with just making like stupid mistakes. And they couldn't run the ball at all in that football game. They ran it for like 60 yards
mm.
on 35 attempts, averaging 3 yards a carry. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, trying to do over 200 yards on the ground, averaging like 8 a clip with plenty of big runs throughout the entire football game, 4 rushing touchdowns.
Good for the nerds.
And it's funny because I actually don't really find this game all surprising. I feel like
Not after
me and
last
you
week.
kind of just were really low on North Carolina coming into the season.
Yeah, I would have sold shares on North Carolina to start the season, but I mean, well, it's one thing, like, right, when we look at Arkansas, especially last year, and we look at Rutgers' team, teams that have been playing poorly that are fighting against good teams and covering against the spread. Like, you look at Georgia Tech, even last year to an extent, we're fighting teams. And then you look last week, I mean, they give Clemson a scare. Like, we almost talked about a week ago how the Nerds pulled off the upset, not NC State. Like, yeah, some of these rebuilding programs that have been great programs in the past are just like, kind of like just getting back on
Yeah.
track where they've been, is maybe not Rutgers, but like Arkansas and Tech there for a while were like pretty
Well,
respect.
Michigan State too. I think this
Yeah,
is
Michigan State as
more in
well.
due to the transfer portal. We can do like a specific segment on this. Let's just run through a couple of the last games really quickly. So, Oklahoma with a scare against West Virginia, another one of your calls from last week, where I actually think we kind of nailed this football game.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire. It's
And
going to
like,
come
well,
down to the
yeah, like
wire.
Oklahoma offense struggled against a pretty decent West Virginia
That
defense.
defense is good,
Um, Yeah, I don't
but
think
I
they're
mean,
like
like,
top tier, but like yeah, you're right. I think they're a good defense. But the big problem for West Virginia that at least that I thought was that Oklahoma D line is still good. That Oklahoma front seven is good. You're going to struggle to run the football. They did Letty Brown coming off a huge week, averaging under four a clip. You come up short, only put up 13 points, but you cover the spread and gave Oklahoma a real scare. Hit that one on the head.
yeah, I mean that spread was huge. Listen, this Oklahoma team is frauds, and
Yeah.
They're the next ones, like, Clemson went down. Oklahoma's the next one on the list, and it could happen this
It's
weekend because
it's
the last
happening sooner
is
sooner rather than
unless,
later.
like, something happens within the week where Rattler actually plays like a Heisman hopeful, but, like, no, Rattler's playing like an undrafted rookie right now, and he might be headed down that line. He'd probably just stay another year at Oklahoma, but, it's kinda crazy even when I was watching that game, like, you even heard the fans, they're out on him. They were
Yeah.
chanting for the backup, and I like to see that. Hold your person accountable. I think Rattler came into the season and has continued to have this, like, head on his shoulders where he thinks he's numero uno pick in the NFL and everybody wants him. He plays in this high octane offense, and he's not good.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the common theme with a lot of the quarterbacks this season. They came in kind of cocky. You got like with the deals that they're able to make, a lot of them are making like logos and crap, and maybe you spend a little too much time making logos and instead of
Because
watching
like
tape.
some of these quarterbacks that weren't, like you have Strong, Matt Corral,
Well,
I
let's
thought is
talk
like
into one of them here. Oregon State with an upset win over USC. I mean, USC easily one of my bigger misses of the season. I loved USC coming into the season. They're getting beat by Oregon State. Oregon State, one of the more
pounded them,
underrated football teams in college football right now,
just
led
destroyed
by
them.
their quarterback,
Dude,
Nolan,
yeah,
Chance Nolan, who I'm gonna go back and watch some tape pretty soon on him. Apparently, he's lighting it up.
yeah. I live bet Oklahoma State money line when they were down, and I saw him make a touchdown throw. I was like, "Damn, dude, that was a pretty tough throw, and this guy looks pretty good. I'm just gonna ride with it, ride with the Beavers." For a little like off point, but like every time I bet on the Beavers, they don't let me down. So like maybe they're just kind of my team, but like I don't know, in a wide open conference, Oregon State, they can play. They can play up to it. They could be a sleeper in this Pac-12 along with a couple other teams.
Yeah, Oregon State low key has a lot of good players. I'm pretty sure they have a pretty good running back too that we went over on the Dynasty podcast. Run through a couple more of these games. Nebraska, Michigan State. That went into overtime or double overtime. That one, one of the overtime. They went into overtime. Michigan State pulls out a 3-point win. Am I getting
Did it
this
go to
wrong?
OT?
I'm pretty sure it went to OT.
Because I know North Carolina State, Clemson went to double OT. I thought that game kind of just ended, right? No,
For
yeah, it did go to OT
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
Michigan State picked it off, and then okay, yeah, I remember that play
Um,
now.
a little bit of a scare for a Michigan State team that's been red hot. What'd you think of that one?
It did scare me. Um, Now I know I've trashed Nebraska in the past, but their defense is actually pretty good. I think you saw against Oklahoma, you saw it here against Michigan State, because Michigan State for the first time in a while looked like they had an offense. I think that's just kind of more like, Michigan State now ranked for the first time in a while, probably since, like what, like 2016 or something like that. But
Yeah,
like
it's been
I think
5 plus years.
I think the pressure got on a little quick, and Nebraska was kind of motivated, really motivated to play that game and try to win this game because Scott Frost is counting down his last few days for Nebraska. Has to be. So I give more credit in Michigan State here, just winning this game
Yeah, just
because
pulling it out.
like at the end of the day, if you win by a mile or inch, winning's winning, right?
Hmm.
To a point with some teams, and I think with a Michigan State team, it's a good win because you were down in this game, but you proved that you have the capability of coming back, making plays when it happens, when you need it, and then just pulling through, and you survived the scare, right? Because every single college football teams, even the big like the Bama, Georgias, and all them, they're going to have games where they have scares and they pull it off because they're the better team, right?
Hmm.
I think Michigan State can fall right in that category with that.
Yeah, Nebraska is just one of those teams to me that I mean they have a couple of good players, classic inconsistent offense with a quarterback that can make plays with his legs. Um,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah,
mean
but
for
if you
them though
let him
they
make
gotta
plays, like he can make plays with his legs. If you let him make plays, they'll be in that game.
yeah like yeah you're right he'll make a couple of plays every game to keep them in there, and they got that really nasty D line at Nebraska that has
Yeah,
been
their
low
defense
key
is
been
good.
playing well.
They
Um,
played against good every single week. Even
yeah.
that loss at Illinois, it was a couple turnovers that really screwed them. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That Nebraska defense is legit, and I'm pretty sure they have a really veteran, like, established secondary as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska did beat like one of the topper. Like if they had to play Oklahoma, they beat them or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised, but
If they made
still,
enough plays, yeah.
yeah.
Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State picked up a win there. Interesting little game. What did you
Oklahoma
think of that
State's
one?
undefeated.
Yeah. Low
I mean,
key too. I mean, you talk about a low key undefeated team. It's them. Feels like a lot of the Big 12 is just like everyone's just like, oh my god, Oklahoma blows. It's just
yeah, like who's going to represent
yeah,
us, right?
right.
Are we going to have someone in the college football playoff? Probably not. But because I would find it hard that Oklahoma State goes 12-0. But
No, they're not going 12-0.
oh no, good win. Kansas State is, it seems like every time Kansas State gets ranked, the next week they find themselves to
Yeah,
finish
they're a
unranked.
much better giant killer than they are
Yeah,
established
they
football team.
they like to play when the buzz is not on them,
Yeah, they
right?
want to play
And then
spoiler.
right when the buzz is on them, they're like, hey man, let's back off." So
South Carolina in a close loss against Kentucky. You think anything about our Gamecocks?
defense. This is the first time in a while I've seen this defense really, like they got some D line prospects on that South Carolina team that have really good chances of having great NFL careers. The offense, I don't know what they're smoking over
Classic.
there. I don't know what they're smoking because I saw today some dude on the podcast was gassing up the OC and was like, he comes up with these elite game schemes. Dude, it's not an elite game scheme if every single drive is just incomplete pass on first down, halfback draw, sets up third and long, try to do a bubble screen, doesn't work. Oh no, we got a punt. Like, I mean, dude, I can go out there and call a better game than that. It's just like, dude, I'm going to put the ball in my best player's hand on the first two plays and get close to the sticks and then just pound the ball away. Like the team's terrible. Like the offense is terrible. The defense is good. But
That's not a surprise. You're gonna tell me you're surprised by South Carolina having
you
a
should have beat
bad
Kentucky.
offense?
You had to beat Kentucky. And it just sucks because they had a lot of recruits there for that game. Beamer, I'm going to go ahead and make this statement. I'm out on Beamer. I don't is he a good guy? Probably. But I don't like clappers. I don't like guys that just sit over there on the sideline, clap their hands. And when like Cam Smith, like one of the young corners, has cost us some big plays, right? Because he's just talking crap, which I like, but talking crap, like getting stupid PI calls on him. And he's just over there clapping his back, like, hey, man, don't worry, you get him next time. Hate that, right? Hate that because when have you ever seen Nick Saban like you screw up, next man in? It should be like I understand you don't have the
I don't
talent
know.
and the
Everyone's got
depth of
their own
that.
style, but I agree. And the too
That
much clapping is
when does
a
that style?
yikes.
When was that? Who's the
John
last coach?
Harbaugh, I feel like is kind of one of those guys. Andy Reid is he kind of one of? I mean, he's
Yeah,
not
but
like a
this is
clap. I feel like he's a
NFL.
positive guy.
This is NFL, and we're talking like you can only do so much with these players. Like you're
True,
expecting like
you
the
need
best
like
of
a
the
little bit
best.
more discipline. It seems like in college football, those seems to be the programs that really succeed.
That's why
But let's
Saban
get into the
succeeded at
NFL.
college, not NFL.
Let's get into the NFL because now we're starting to get into the NFL. Let's start off with the craziest kick of all time
Oh my
in
god.
that Ravens Lions game. Whoa, 60 Justin Tucker breaks the NFL record 66-yard field goal, doinks off the crossbar and over and in. Wild game because the Ravens went up early
Oh,
and then did nothing.
I was keeping on with the game. I saw it was 16-7. I was like, okay, like this is just going to be easy coastal win, like 23-10 or something, like whatever. And then, like, I took the Ravens in my survivor pool, and I get a text like, hey, man, the Ravens about to bounce you out. And I go, what? I like switch over. I'm like, yo, Justin Tucker makes this kick right here. Like, first of all, Lamar, great throw on fourth and long. It's like 4th and 19,
Yeah.
able to find the guy downfield, and like set up like,
Lamar played really well. Like his
yeah,
stats
I
don't show it, but he was like really chucking the pill out there.
I think that was just on the Lions side, I think that's a prime example of what you're gonna get out of this Lions team some games. It's just like and what PC principle has kind of been preaching is like, we're gonna play physical and we're gonna try to beat you and we're gonna punch you in the mouth. I feel like that was like kind of the energy they brought. Now it's a classic Lions loss, losing to the longest kick in NFL history that bounces off the middle of the field, in the middle of the post that somehow goes
That's
in.
such a Lions game for you.
Yeah, but like, hey man, like someone's gonna break it, and someone was gonna have to be the team that faced it. So,
So yeah, for me from this game, first off, the whole like Lamar should have had about 3 or 4 touchdowns this game.
mm.
Hollywood Brown, there's
He had
people are
like
gonna
two
say he dropped
drops.
2 touchdowns. Well, the first one, a guy did get a hand on it and change the trajectory of the ball a little bit. So like,
Mm.
yeah, you should catch that,
Okay,
but you can see why. Second one's just a plain old right through the hands drop. Clearly, it was in his head. John Harbaugh had to say something to him on the sideline, but
that's what you want out of your first round pick right there.
outside of that, man, I felt like the Ravens. It was weird seeing him not really pound the rock. I felt like it
It
was
just
just.
like were they a little like too high and mighty after their emotional win against the Chiefs? You
I don't
know,
know
they're
what it
like,
was. Maybe they just wanted Lamar to just
are the Chiefs
beat
even
them.
good? Like,
Um, I didn't get to catch a ton of the game, so maybe the
the only
freaking
part
the
I
Lions
saw
were
was the
just
kick.
stacking the box, taking away the run, and just letting them throw over the top. I don't know. Regardless, it was just a weird game because usually you're seeing the Ravens just absolutely pound the rock over and over and over again, and because Lamar is so good, and you have to have a guy on him in these zone reads or boots or whatever, that it just takes a guy out of the run game. So
Mm.
usually there's just a natural, okay, we have a numbers advantage. Let's just run the ball. Weird to see, and good for the Lions. Honestly, like it's gonna stink that it's a loss, but this isn't a loss where it's like you're losing the locker room or anything. I think the guys are still going to be fighting. They still think they have a chance, and it was just encouraging to see. You've had a couple of
The
you
Lions
had
have
a
played
good
good
first
football.
half against the Packers.
They had a
Now you have
great
a
second
good
half.
complete game against the Ravens. Like there are a lot of encouraging signs for if you're a Lions fan.
Yeah, you had a great fourth quarter against the 49ers. You know, like you're seeing positivity. So
Those are
like,
3 playoff teams.
yeah,
You're going to get some games against the Bears. You're going to get some games against the Vikings. And I mean, it seems like anyone can score against the Vikings right now.
just I don't know what's going on over there.
Vikings are the weirdest team of all time. You
They
can,
did play better defense though in that second
yeah,
half against
it's
Seattle.
just they are the weirdest team. They're just who
Should be
knows.
3-0.
Okay, Falcons Giants
Snooze
toilet bowl
fest.
here.
Snooze fest, dude.
Falcons couldn't do anything until like the very end of the game.
I was fighting to stay awake the whole game. That game was putting me to sleep, man. But good win for the Falcons. You didn't win the game though. The Giants won that game for you. I would say that. Matt threw that one ball to Dory Jackson and he drops it. You know
Mhm.
that seals you the win right there. So for the Giants, you know they lose like Slayton, Shepard, lost another guy too, like real early.
It's just another game that the Giants should have freaking won,
I just have
to
a
be
question
honest.
about because like I will give credit to the Falcons defense. They did look good or better. And I have a question just for the Giants is that you were clearly like when you ran up the middle with Saquon, you were getting probably 5 yards a carry. Why the hell didn't you just keep doing that? Sometimes they try to stretch it outside or a little toss, and that would just get eaten up. It's like you were having and I thought Daniel Jones played good. You know, like
Yeah, he did play well. I mean, that's the thing that's the most surprising thing is that you have the narrative that oh the Daniel Jones sucks, the Giants suck. I mean, you're gonna look at their record, and obviously there are games that should have won, but these past 2 games are not on Daniel Jones. I mean, I think he could be doing a better job of putting the ball in the end zone, definitely. And the connection with Kenny Galladay
I
isn't there.
will
But like you
say,
said, there was a lot of Colin Johnson was their was their number one receiver that game. It seemed like.
yeah, I will say though, there'd be some times they were like at midfield and they were driving against that Falcons defense, and something we haven't seen in forever. The Falcons would get like a huge sack, and it'd be like 3rd and 20, and then you're kind of screwed, right? After like driving the field 40 yards, and now you're all the way back. So hats off, like I thought Dante Fowler, that's the best game he's ever played in Falcons uniform, surprisingly. Um, I at the end of the day, I think the Falcons D line just made enough plays. Isaiah
Well, it's
Oliver had a
funny because
big
You were
fumble.
talking about Saquon, like, oh, why didn't dude? I have a qualm with Saquon because at some point I feel like he's just doing too much. He's trying to do too much. Just
I think he's
he,
playing scared.
well, like I just think he's always been the guy. Okay, I'm gonna get 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, and then boom, 40-yard play. I'm getting none of the 40-yard plays right now as long as carry the game's 15 yards. And a lot of these runs, I feel like there are open lanes, and he's just turning them down to try and bounce it outside and cut back when he shouldn't. Like, dude, at some point when your offense is struggling, just take the yards, make it easy on you, dude. Stop. You are forcing Daniel Jones to be an elite quarterback. Just
Well,
take what's there,
I have a
and then the big plays will come. You know.
I have a more of a thing to say about the Giants, and reason if I was a G-Man fan, I'd be pissed, right? Is because the front office did like they said, "Hey, we think we're contenders in this thing. We're going to go out there and we're going to spend some money in this free agency. We're going to make some moves, some key moves that I think." So you bring Leonard Williams back, right? You you get Galladay, you get a couple more pieces, and now you're starting 0-3, especially 2 games that you should have won, right? So, like, what are we doing, right? Where does this fall? Is it management? Is it play calling? Is Joe
I'm
Judge
not
not
giving
the
up on the
guy?
Giants though. Like you
I'm
said,
not giving
they
up on him
should be
anyways,
two and
but,
one.
like,
This should be a 2-1 football team. They should be the Bengals right now. You should have two ugly wins. Um, you
hey, 2
don't.
ugly wins are nice. An ugly win is nice, I'll tell you
I
that.
mean, I have kind of been a Jason Garrett apologist, but and it's not like it's just one of those scenarios that kind of like last year. The offense can move the football. You can't run the ball, but you've been moving the football. You just kind of didn't score, right?
Well, they were taken out of it, like, anytime they got the ball in midfield, the Falcons would create a sack somehow. It
Um,
or, like, the Falcons would just get that key stop.
And it's funny because like it's almost tough to put the blame all on because like you're kind of getting the production that you wanted out of Daniel Jones.
And then yeah, you are. I thought especially with his dual threat, like, he was able
But
to
like
really run the
like
ball.
you can't tell me that you're putting the blame on Daniel Jones for these
I'm
past
not.
two losses.
I
Well, yeah,
for these
exactly.
last
Like
2, hell
you
no.
scroll through Twitter and everyone's like, "Oh, you
Well,
got
you then
should have
you
drafted Justin Fields." Dude, I'm sorry. After that game from Justin Fields, you're telling me that he's putting that team in a better chance to win? Are you kidding me? Daniel
no.
Jones has been like you take his stats the past two games, he looks really good. I mean, not really good,
No,
but
I
he
think
looks like he's a starter.
if you compare some of his numbers right now to he's I'm not saying Daniel Jones top 10 quarterback in the league, but his numbers are showing that he's top 10 in some categories where he's producing, and it's not like he's playing behind like Stafford used to and just slinging the ball, you know? Like, no, he's playing good for
Yeah.
it's
I don't know. This
something
is a
is
weird game.
it was a really weird game. It's a game that, like, I think 2 teams, eh, play the Giants Falcons again, the Giants win, okay? Like, I I like, because we go back to the Giants being 2-1, if Dexter Lawrence doesn't go offsides, and if Adoree Jackson doesn't drop that pick,
Yeah.
and also a play that doesn't get talked about in this Giants Falcons game, and it's honestly a better play by one of my more hated players, is that, Evan Ingram fumbled. Shout out Evan Ingram, what a beast. But Isaiah
What a
Oliver
disaster, man.
yeah,
The
but
Evan Ingram.
Isaiah Oliver literally ripped it out of his hands and creates that turnover right before the half when they were driving down the field again. And it's just like, yeah, you can't like you were supposed to be this top echelon of tight ends, and you're out here making plays, letting Isaiah Oliver of all people make plays. It's and you're playing a Falcons defense that doesn't even have their number one corner and playing in this
Yeah.
game. Like, you're just losing this game to the Falcons team that's going to be picking in the
Yeah,
top
there's just
10.
no excuse. Too many mistakes. All right, so K. McDonald, how about them Cowboys? I mean, we can get into the Cowboys game.
I mean,
Um,
Cowboys are contenders
dude, they look really strong in that defense with a really great performance against the Eagles.
with some people out too in that defense.
Yeah, I mean, first thing has to be said. What the fuck were the Eagles doing that entire football game?
I don't know.
3 runs? 3 runs against and it's not like the last matchup you played, Jalen Hurts had any success. He had his worst game against the Cowboys, the horrendous defense last year. Defense looks a lot better. oh yeah, let's just drop Jalen Hurts back 50 freaking times and do all these RPOs where he's clearly not executing them correctly because he's
or
holding
doesn't
on
even
to the
know
ball
what
for
they
20
are.
seconds.
Yeah, he doesn't. There was one play, like there was an RPO. He rolled out. He makes a great throw, but the thing is, it's an RPO.
Yeah.
The lineman's already
But why do you
downfield.
keep calling him? Like, okay, you could blame Jalen. Oh, you got to get the ball out of your hands. Clearly, he wants to escape being open field to make throws.
Yeah, that's what he's more
Why are we
comfortable with.
not calling plays for him to do that? Like, okay, the easy way, it's on both people, in my opinion, because Jalen, just get rid of the freaking ball. But at the same time, he wants to make a play. He's down in the football game. Call a boot. Get him, call some sort of rollout. Get him moving. Get him out of the pocket, right? And not call a play where he has to get rid of the ball in a second.
I think that's just like Nick Sirianni being that rookie head coach. Just he's not used to making that in-game adjustment like that. Maybe play,
I don't know. It
just play
was
to your player's
nightmare.
strength. If he's faulting with RPOs time after time, like I'd be like, "Yo, are you just more comfortable rolling out, throwing the ball?" And if he said, "Yeah," I'd be like, "Okay, that's what we'll do." Like,
I don't know. Like at some point, like how many times can you call a play that's not working over and over and over and over and over again, and just continue to lose the entire football game?
yeah.
Like not developing the run was
And
just the weirdest thing because
when
these are
they
dude, real quick. If you look at the stats, right? Sirianni with the Colts, some of the best rushing success. Their OC with the Saints, some of the best rushing success. And you don't run the football? I don't know. Weird game for the Eagles offensively. Cowboys defensively, their freaking corner, Trayvon Diggs.
beast.
Dude, Trayvon Diggs, he is playing with so much swagger. Like, I mean, he had a phenomenal game against the Chargers the week before. Another incredible game. Like,
Yeah,
whew, he looks
I
good.
mean, if they had to do a redraft of that class, he'd be the first corner taken.
And dude,
I
Parsons
Parsons,
plays every freaking position.
I told you about Parsons. Like, I think
Yeah.
he's the best defensive player in that draft, and the Cowboys got him. And yeah, is it? You see a player like that can fix your defense. You add in a couple pieces. Like Trayvon Diggs has taken it to another level. KZ, I always thought KZ was a good little safety, and he's played really well. He's a turnover machine. And then you got some guys on the D line to create some pressure. I think is it a top defense by any means? No. But I think it's a defense that you saw like why they were in the Bucks game. They can make enough plays to keep you in the game. And I think that's why the Cowboys might be kind of contenders. I mean, they're definitely the best team out of the East. Okay, hands down. They should win that. They should win the East easily, in my opinion. Like they should be an 11-6 team, win the East, and then maybe be fighting for the second seed. But you just got to hope that your defense holds. I mean, I'll say I think Dan Quinn. Like I know he had some rough years in Atlanta there at the end, but like Jerry Jones, hat off to you because that's definitely been the right hire, getting him in there, getting maybe in a role where he's more comfortable with. And, that defense is taking a complete 180.
Yeah,
And then
I
you got
mean,
Dak.
I'm
And then
not
you got
completely
Dak.
sold though, just because I thought the game plan from DQ Dan Quinn was just really good. I wouldn't be surprised to see teams do exactly what the Cowboys were doing with Jalen Hurts, where you have that one deep safety. If you have a rangy safety that can just kind of keep a lid on those deep balls, and then dude, the Eagles were kind of just getting bullied and making mistakes.
And once
Other
they
side
got
of the
down.
ball, though, what really impressed me the most about the Cowboys was the fact that they were able to run the ball even while their offensive line were getting. I mean, dude, Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox are two phenomenal defensive tackles.
Mhm.
There were plays where the Cowboys were getting ran over by them, but at the same time, they made enough plays. Pollard and Zeke both looked really good running the football.
That's good to
Um,
see Zeke.
Dude, they 150 yards on the ground against a good Eagles front seven. That was definitely the most encouraging sign from that offense.
And then, of course, you're going to get like crazy to say that Dak didn't even throw for 300 yards. But,
Yeah,
uh, but
I
then
mean,
again,
people are saying are kind of make. I saw on Twitter making a big deal out of the fumbles, I, and the sacks. Just hold. I don't know. I think
I'm
that's
not like,
nothing to me.
no, like, how bad did they win that game? 40-17? Okay.
Yeah,
The
it just
dominant win. The
and dude, you
dominant win.
really didn't even need to do anything special. You're able to just pound the rock. You didn't really even need Amari Cooper or CD Lamb that game.
Listen, I this is why the Cowboys, the first 2 games of the season, right? You played playoff teams. You played a Super Bowl team. You almost beat them. You should have beat them. Week 2, Chargers are question mark, but after this last week against the Chiefs, we'll get into it second, I know, but, like, that's a great win right there,
Yeah.
And now you play a team that, like, we don't it's unknown. It's an unknown team. Like, you've had really good one good win, then you played tough against the 49ers, but we know you're not a playoff team. Cowboys come out there and dominate the whole game. So, I don't know, I think,
I definitely underrated him coming into the season, especially you look at the division right now. It's like the Cowboys are the only team hot. The Eagles look like the Eagles dumpster fire to a certain extent.
football team is just not
I
that
mean, you lose your
defense.
quarterback.
You
The
lose your
defense
quarterback,
isn't
but
playing as well.
the defense isn't there, and the Giants are very underachieving right now.
Yeah, the Giants keep on giving away free dubs. Let's get into Saints Patriots. Another kind of a snoozer game. The Saints were just kind of in control the entire time. I'm not surprised by this. I like the Saints coming in. And it's funny because I texted you before the game. I'm like, dude, I really wish for our picks I took Saints money line. Like, I'm really regretting that.
Yeah, that'd
Mainly
been a good
because,
bet.
dude, that defense is legit. You got them back from that COVID week,
Yeah,
and you saw it on display. Like, dude, Gardner Johnson and Lattimore, I think, are 2 top 10 defensive backs in the NFL. 2 top 10 man coverage guys. You have them on the same defense with guys like Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. Defense is just too good. You saw
well,
it; they just
yeah,
owned the
they
Patriots.
there was no separation from those receivers. Like, they were breathing down those receivers' necks, and, like, Matt couldn't do anything with the
Pass
ball.
rush was getting home too.
And, like, this is the first game we really seen Mac struggle, you know? I all
I'm not
the
so, like everyone's making such a
but,
big
like,
deal out of it though.
I
Like,
didn't think Mac played that bad. I didn't
dude, we
think he
saw
played.
Tom Brady struggle against this defense.
Yeah.
With the Bucks that won the Super Bowl last year. Are we surprised that Mac Jones came out here and struggled? And to be honest, he started turning around in the second half. Like, dude, 200. Okay, he threw the ball 51 times, but 270 passing yards. He had 3 picks, but was
I
under
don't think
pressure.
that
It's
one
just a
pick was his
rookie
fault.
performance. I'm not taking much out of this game. I still
I
think
don't
that the Patriots are a threat.
listen, I'm still gonna Johnny Smith. I
Oh yeah, that one that he just, dude,
that
he
pick
didn't
was on
even
him.
drop it. He
It
like
was just like
juggled it, threw it in the air.
I was like, "Dude, what the hell?" And that was the start of the second half too, like, because like, the Patriots kinda like, because remember, the
I
Saints
forgot
missed 2
about that
field
play.
goals. But Johnny Smith dropped a pass earlier too. This is a guy you paid good money
Dude,
for.
and remember the freaking Jameis Hail Mary in the end zone to Callaway? Like, that could easily have been an interception and the game be even closer.
Yeah.
So I think that people are looking way too much in this win from the Patriots side and for like the whole Mac Jones, like, oh, Mac Jones, dude, it would have been remarkable for him to come out here and have a good football game.
I mean, like, out of all the rookie quarterbacks, he probably has the toughest
Easily
spot.
looks the best. No
He looks
question,
the
looks the
best, but
best.
he has, like, the toughest spot, I think.
Um, But dude, he's been playing well, to be honest. He's been like, okay. He had a bad game last game to a certain extent. I think
It's just
it's
like
overblown though. Let's move on though. Let's move on.
yeah, yeah.
Colts Titans. Colts go down again. I took the
I
Colts. I was thinking that this game would have been a little bit closer. Dude, you only put up 16 points against the Titans defense. I understand Carson Wentz's ankles are hurting, but one like, dude, I'm sorry, you only run Jonathan Taylor 10 times.
yeah, it's
10 times.
stupid.
Like, why are you not force feeding this dude the football?
I don't
It's
understand
the
it.
Titans. They can't tackle. They can't tackle.
And he makes people miss. It's kinda crazy as a Jonathan Taylor owner in one of my leagues, like, I'm kinda frustrated with the Colts, what they're doing with them so far. I just, like, I'm kinda out on the Colts now because like, you start
I'm
0
not
and
out.
3. You're not out? Like, but, like, maybe not
They're
out, but,
too
like
good. They are too good. They will turn it around. It's like the Vikings last year. There's too many good players, even though there are some holes on the roster for them to just be a bad football team.
yeah, but it might be time to hit the panic button.
What if?
I
What
mean,
if
who do
Sam
they play
Ellinger comes in? I'm speculating here. I'm putting the tinfoil hat on because I mean Carson Wentz. It's just doomsday clouds follow wherever he goes. Just the dark clouds follow. It's always raining. He should carry an umbrella with him for God's sakes. I saw a couple plays of Sam Ellinger. I'm sorry, but if Carson Wentz keeps on putting up 16ers against the worst defenses in the NFL, and keeps on getting hurt somehow because he's playing behind a good offensive line, yet all of a sudden the sack numbers are going up and time to throw is not there. Dude, there's only so much you can freaking take.
Yeah. Well, is Carson Wentz just made out of glass? Like,
I don't know what's going on. He's got the ultimate yips. Someone
I think he does.
cast a spell on ye old Carson Wentz, and he's just
I,
done sparse.
he needs to go see like a mental like therapist, like the sports therapist things. Some people
I think
say.
the only thing that can happen here is that he needs to go to like Haiti or something and go to the voodoo people and get some voodoo crap going.
Yeah, but you want that hoodoo voodoo in there? Like isn't
What else are you thinking? What else? Nothing else is working. He switched teams. We went from good O lines to bad O lines to good weapons to bad weapons to this to that to. I'm going to voodoo. I'm going to voodoo.
maybe you should.
All right, Bills absolutely destroy the football team. I thought this game would have been a little bit closer. I saw the line was creeping down. I was thinking about taking the football team, but once it went under plus 300, I'm like, okay, yeah, not taking that. And good thing I didn't because holy crap, the Bills just destroyed them. Emmanuel Sanders had 2 tutties.
Yeah.
Josh Allen looked unstoppable. We finally saw the Josh Allen
Well,
from last
now
year.
like we think the Bills are like where they should be at, right? Like the
Yeah.
offense should be like because that's a formable front, like had they played up to par like they did last
Well, the
season
defense
now.
is putting it together too.
Yeah, and true. I think like the Bills because like I mean I think the AFC is kind of open right now, and I think the Bills are right there in discussion. I mean they
You ready
were
for this,
earlier.
Steed?
What?
Low key, the Bills are the hottest team in football right now. They're blowing the doors off people.
Who they play week 2?
They played the Dolphins, which Tua got hurt and they struggled. I mean, they blew the doors off them though. And this is a dominant performance against. I mean, the Washington football team. I don't think is great, but they're not a bad team. Like they're going to play some good teams close. I do not want to play the Bills right now because now
No,
that
they're not the
Josh Allen's
hottest
getting
team.
hot, dude, that defense is legit, and Josh Allen's hot. The running backs are playing well, and you get Zach Moss back and healthy. Singletary's there. I
You're
don't
gonna
want to
say they're
play the
hotter than
Bills.
the Rams?
Yeah. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I was about to say the
I
Rams look
like
pretty
both those
nasty.
teams though. I picked the Ram. Was it my Super Bowl Bills Rams or
I
was
know
it
it's
Chiefs
Rams.
Rams? I know the Bills are in my
No,
AFC
I think
Championship.
I did think you picked the Bills. I think you said this was the year.
Dude, I like both of those teams. So, AFC though, Bills are the hottest team. Chargers Chiefs, dude, great win for the Chargers. Hats off, Brandon Staley. Hats off to you. I mean, I like the Brandon Staley hire off rip. I thought it was the best hire for any of the head coaches or the
Hmm.
teams that hired head coaches. I didn't think it was going to be this good. To be completely Brandon Staley is the epitome of the type of head coach that you want. I think he's going to be like the next John Harbaugh. Like smart, he knows the game. This guy is scheme wise, tippy top, just play calling and decisions and whatnot, tippy top. Seems like he can really run an organization. He's getting those guys together. Dude, I am scared of the Chargers. I am deathly scared of the Chargers as a Steelers fan. As an any
Well,
fan, I would be scared of the
right?
Chargers.
The Chargers have everything.
Yeah, that they don't have a weakness right now, it
Yeah,
seems
they
like.
have everything. Justin Herbert's amazing. You know, uh, Eckler's playing good. They have a nice little running game, but also like is formable in their passing game. And then you talk about the defense. I mean, Staley's probably licking his chops when he came over and was like, dude, if Derwin James stays healthy, I get one of the best defensive players in the world.
I kind of criticized the Chargers last week for their lack of running attempts, but I thought this week was perfect what they did.
Mm,
Because if you look at the stat sheet, 6 different guys had a rushing attempt. I
mhm.
think that's exactly what you need to do because I didn't. We were saying we didn't want to see the Chargers force feed Eckler. It's not like we were saying, oh, we need to get Eckler 20 carries. And at the same time, it's not like I love their backup running backs either. But you got Keenan Allen a rushing attempt, Guyton a rushing attempt. You got Roundtree and Justin Jackson in the game. You got Eckler, his 10 to like 13, 14 carries that we want to see.
And then his
And then
6
you let
catches on the
Herbert
back
make the
end.
plays he needs to. This is, and I think Brandon Staley said it best. You don't need to force the run game. You need the threat of the run to be there. That's exactly what I wanted, and we saw it this week.
Nah, what about the Chiefs?
I'm not. It's nothing. Listen, unfortunate weeks. The Chiefs are making mistakes, but
I
dude,
mean, they're a drop punt away from being 0-3.
I don't care. The thing is, you're talking about a drop punt. There are a couple of drop passes for being 3-0 and still being the Chiefs.
I mean, I'm not worried about him either. I'm just saying.
Like, okay, defensively, there's definitely a little bit of what the
I mean,
hell's going on,
defense, they
guys,
haven't
because
been
their
able to
D line
stop.
is still trash.
I mean, they're allowing 30 plus points a game.
The thing is, dude, that secondary I still think is good. The Chiefs are the Chiefs are the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I'm not panicking. You know what? I'm going to panic when I see 7 losses. Until
Mhm.
then,
Could you imagine?
no. That's why I'm not panicking. I can't imagine that team having 7 losses. Like, okay, I'm sorry. It's just nothing. It's nothing. It's going to be the same. They're going to win games. It's not going to be pretty. I don't need it to be pretty, though. That's a good football team. Cardinals beat the Jags. A little bit of a scare there. In the first half, he had that crazy return punt by Jamal Agnew, who
The kick
low
six.
key is like the new Devin Hester.
The kick
Um,
six.
that guy is crazy. He is crazy good at returning. Um, what about this game was interesting? I mean, Kyler Murray just kind of got off to a rough start, but he pulled it together at the end. The Cardinals offense just kind of started to make plays.
T-Law
And
threw a couple picks.
yeah, T-Law did what, exactly what you didn't want him to do. You're in the in that game, and all of a sudden you see pick 6 on the screen or whatever on the rollout, and then more picks and Cardinals cash in. I once again I'm a little bit encouraged with the Jags. Actually, it's gonna be crazy to say because you're just T-Law making stupid mistakes away from beating a really good football team.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, anything else you want to mention in that game?
Nah, I mean, I, Cardinals made a couple plays, but again, you're playing a rookie quarterback. The Cardinals, you start 3-0. That's huge. But who are you now? You got your biggest test next week against the Rams. Like you're not going to get free
Oh
points
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
But the thing is, like, obviously, it wasn't a great performance, and you're gonna look at Kyler Murray, no passing touchdowns. But like, I don't
He
care.
still scored.
I saw Kyler Murray play like a top level. He just did what he needed to do to win that football game, and he
Yeah.
didn't make a ton of stupid mistakes or any of that crap. That's all
James
I want to
Conner
see
played
out of
good.
Kyler Murray because for as many of these weeks he's gonna have twice as many crazy weeks, 3 times as many crazy weeks. That's fine. It's the Jags. We don't need MVP level Kyler Murray to show up against the Jags to beat them. Let's see if he could show up against the Rams. That's what we're looking at. Browns blow the doors off the Bears. Bears couldn't do anything offensively. I mean, what are you going to do? Justin Fields is not ready to play.
I don't understand why I didn't take the Browns -7 there. With
I was
the
thinking about it too.
good, they have a good D line, and you, Bears O line is suspect. I should have just known they would just wreak havoc over Justin. You see that one play by Myles Garrett just talking about how good he is. Like he
Which
comes. Well, there's one where it looks like he was Neo from the Matrix because
oh yeah, when he lined up inside and one step just like
and
teleports.
yeah, and the old lineman was like, "What?" He's just that
Unfair.
quick? It's like that didn't make any sense to me. Like because I saw it again and again. I mean, you blink and you miss it, but yeah, I think that's why we weren't really on the Justin Fields bandwagon. Like everybody was calling for him. Like I think if you have Andy Dalton that game, it's a little more formidable of a game. Like you're able to compete a little more. But Justin Fields is not the guy right now. And if you rush
Well,
him out there, it's only going to. But also, can you talk about the offensive playing calling by Nagy? No idea what he's doing. And second of all, hats off to Trubisky for taking that team to the playoffs twice with that kind of play calling.
well, yeah, that's one thing I want to say is that a couple of things here. First off, Fields is just not ready to play. I know I'm not a big Justin Fields fan. He was my last ranked of like the top 6 that I had. He was number 6. Um, but I'm not gonna come out here and start victory lapping or anything. He's a rookie quarterback not ready to play, and that Browns
Oh, and you're
defense is
playing the
insane.
top yeah, you're playing a top team
But
though.
like, dude, I think that's a good point you make on Trubisky because this is what Trubisky was seeing in a whole lot of games, right? You look at that Saints playoff game,
Yeah,
it's the
like,
same shit. No one's getting separation.
but the thing is, like, okay, like maybe it's a little too early to say this about Justin Fields. I don't know how the fans are going to react if he keeps on playing like this. But the thing is, like when Trubisky would play in this and like he would win games, he got deemed a bust. Is Trubisky was he really a bust or was he a bust because of the system?
Okay,
Because
here's what I say because I think you're starting to get a little crazy here. I was not a Trubisky guy, and I'm not necessarily saying that I'm a Trubisky guy, but you're telling me that he's not a very high quality backup at least.
who Trubisky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Trubisky's fight here.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm not going to come out here and say that he's like not a starting franchise quarterback or anything.
Maybe not Matt Nagy.
I like listen. I've been saying on the Dynasty Pod that I would pick up Mitchell Trubisky, and I'm looking to try and pick up Mitch Trubisky because he's undervalued. You
Because,
take one seat behind a good offense and Brian Dable and whatnot, and all of a sudden, like he's I think because I'm pretty sure he signed a 1 year deal. Like
because
next
Trubisky was getting
offseason,
all
we
the
could see
blame.
him potentially be like a bridge quarterback or starting quarterback again.
Yeah, but
Um,
Trubisky was getting all the blame. Look, if you look at that game right there, I think Nagy deserves a lot more of the blame
yeah, but the
than
thing is too,
Trubisky.
like, what the fuck are you gonna do if you're Nagy? The Browns are just better than you, bro. Like,
I
listen, I'm
mean,
not a Matt Nagy guy, but
score a touchdown maybe. I don't know.
I think there's a blame to go around on everyone on that
I just
offense right now,
maybe the
especially.
Bears offense is not good. Just plain and simple.
Yeah, their
Just not
offensive
good.
line is bad. Their weapons did not create enough separation. The play calling was bad. Justin Fields is not ready to play right now. It's just a whole lot. You don't have that bad of a performance, put up 68 yards without multiple people being at fault. It's never on one guy. With that kind of performance. Um, Jets against the Broncos. It's the Jets are just a freaking dumpster fire still. Nothing really to go on here. KJ Hamler got hurt. Um, Zach Wilson, that poor guy's fighting for his life out there.
Oh, he is a oh god.
It's like Zach Wilson is Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards when like all the horses are charging at him and he's just there like, all right, here we go, boys. Like,
Yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't have the Knights of the Veil to push him to
yeah,
victory.
there's no Knights of the Vales coming for the Jets.
He's got no one coming. He's got no help. He's just have to Jon Snow it all. I think if I'm Zach Wilson, my one
There's no
goal this
Knights of the Vale.
season,
That's great.
I think my one goal this season is just make it out alive and then just hope next season, with some draft capital, you could start building this thing because everybody's gonna deem Zach Wilson a bust, but like this team is not good. And on the other hand, we don't know if the Broncos are good. Okay, they've played three teams that are underachieved. I want to see the Broncos play someone real. That's why if we had to do a power rankings, I don't still put them in my top 10, even though they're 3-0.
Well, they got
But
the Ravens this week, so that's going to be a real
I want to
test.
I want to see that. I want to see if you can beat the Ravens. If you can beat the Ravens, then I'll start taking you legit.
Yeah, I agree. I
Because I
think that the
still think you're
Broncos are
gonna.
like they're still what in that realm of what we thought they were. One of those fringe playoff teams. They could easily be the Raiders right now, where they got a couple of good wins. Hey, Teddy Bridgewater had a good game against the Giants. I'm not saying that. Teddy Bridgewater made plays, but let's see you make plays against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson.
Derek Carr made plays against the Ravens.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not, dude. The Ravens almost lost to the freaking Lions. I'm not saying the Ravens are invincible. It's just Lamar Jackson's going to keep him in the game, and that
Mm.
offense should keep him in the game. And the Jets, man, I it's just offensive line is terrible without
How do you
Beckham,
watch
and
that team? Like, come on.
I don't know. It's just a nightmare. Raiders, Dolphins, Raiders pull it out in overtime against the Dolphins. That was a weird game because like the Dolphins just kind of hung around long enough to creep in at the very end.
Well, they got off to that quick 14-0 lead because they had the pick six and then they scored
Oh yeah, that's
again.
right. That's right. I forgot
And
about
then,
that.
like and then at some point, it's 14-2 because the Raiders got a safety, and then it's 14-5 because the Raiders got a field goal. It's some wonky ass scoring, and then the Raiders, next thing you know, they're up like 10 points, and then here come the Dolphins. Brissett scores like in the last few seconds, and you got a little great overtime thriller. I don't know. We didn't bet on that game. At least I didn't. And like, if you're a Dolphins better, what a whirlwind, because
Yeah,
you start
I
by
wanted to take the Dolphins that
you
week.
were covering so much, and then all of a sudden you weren't covering, and then you take it to OT and you were covering again.
Yeah.
Just kind of weird. But
Well, I mean, I like people might say like, "Oh, well, the Raiders frauds after this." This is the exact kind of game that I was expecting. Just a really close game.
this
Dolphins
is the
defense is going to
Raiders
keep them in
team.
the game.
The
Um,
Raiders are not going to be the dominant team that just. The Dolphins are good,
well,
right? But
you have
like,
Josh Jacobs. You're literally like Derek
oh
Carr
yeah,
is just
they
being
don't
asked
have.
to go out there and win the game.
Well, I mean, like, it's pretty easy when you target Waller 20 times a game.
I mean, Peyton Barber had a good game. I mean, they fed him. I'll give him that. But Derek Carr, dude's showing up.
Oh
Almost
yeah,
400 passing yards.
he's a beast.
Hunter Renfro, third and Renfro is the man.
It's his favorite target. I'm like, I mean,
He's
he's got.
good. He's really good.
Yeah, he's really good.
Let's move on though. Seahawks Vikings. We got a glimpse of what the Seahawks defense was like last week. That was
Mm.
horrendous. I'm sorry. So many wide open players. Like I understand that the Vikings receivers are good. They're not that good. Um,
I don't know what the hell they were
that's a
doing.
nightmare. What the fuck is going on?
I just don't understand what the Seahawks did because like Chris Carson was had a really good first half, and then you just kind of took him out of the equation. Did you like
It's a
what?
weird game
Like you see how bad your defense is playing. You don't want to try to control the clock a little
well,
bit,
also I
like
felt like DK Metcalf was making plays too.
because like
And
the first half of the game, you're like, oh, see, like why was this game even -1.5? Like the Seahawks are just gonna walk in there, and then here come the Vikings. Like, I mean, one half they look like one of the worst teams in football, and the next half they look like a damn near like the best team in football. So like weird
yeah.
team. Both of these teams are weird to me, but especially the Vikings. They were just a funky ass
Yeah,
team.
but I mean, at the end of the day, like Seahawks offense, I'm not gonna blame him. You didn't make enough plays, and you could have been
I
better.
like to
But
see
man, that
Chris Carson
defense,
be more involved in the second half.
yeah, it's just, dude, the Seahawks couldn't stop anything.
Oh yeah, the
You,
defense.
you like
They
Kirk
were
Cousins
in.
looked like prime Peyton Manning. Alexander Madison looked like Dalvin Cook. I don't know what you expect Russell Wilson to do.
Well,
That
dude, I didn't even know Dalvin was out until like Madison ripped a huge run. I'm like, damn, Dalvin must be going off today. And then I look, I'm like,
nope.
wait a minute, that's Madison. I'm like, oh God, is this what the Seahawks defense is? They just make anybody look good. I mean, they're in prime form though from last year though. So if you want to be consistent, at least they're that.
All right, Bucks Rams, dominant performance from the Rams. I'll tell you what, I didn't expect such an offensive game. I took the under and it hit at the end there, high score in second half or third quarter actually. Um, dude, I'll tell you what, dude, the Rams look so good, and it's actually funny that it's like it feels like it's Djax, right? Obviously, Cooper Cup is making
I
plays, but
even Van Jefferson.
yeah, Van Jefferson. But dude, Djax, like the threat of him over the top. You saw it last game.
I
Like
mean,
he gets
he
free.
Stafford was throwing the ball deep to him a couple times, and they finally connected on one. But like he does like having Djax there, just kind of as the home run
But you
threat.
just see the conundrum that it puts you in this McVay offense, where
Oh, that team's
you
tough,
have to
dude.
have guys over the top of Djax, and then that opens up so much space for Jefferson, Cup. We haven't even seen Woods really get heavily involved yet. That's coming. Um,
Hopefully,
Dude, even without Cam Akers, Stafford looks insane. McVay looks
I
insane.
thought Sony Michelle played good.
Did you see that one pass block he
He had
had?
a couple. He had a couple that were really good. But yeah,
Prime
that one
form,
where he
dude.
flipped
Rams
the
are
dude.
scary.
Yeah, the Rams are especially like I thought their defense played really well. Like
Yep.
they didn't even create a turnover, and dismount that garbage touchdown at the very end, but like really you
Held
held the
Brady in check.
17 points. Aaron Donald was flying all like doing Aaron Donald things. They were just getting to the ball. Jalen Ramsey played
Secondary looks really good for the Rams too.
that. I mean, that team is probably my favorite to win the NFC right now. Like just the way that because like right, like the game got off to a little bit of a slow start for both teams, but especially the Rams. Stafford missed a couple throws. I think it was more just Stafford's like just kind of like really amped to go. Maybe nerves got him because like kind of like Joe Buck and Aikman were saying, this is the first time in Stafford's life he's playing a big, meaningful game like this, like with some high expectations in his career. Crazy to think about because it's been 12 years now, but like here he is.
Yeah, he
But
hasn't
like,
been on a good team since Georgia.
yeah, but like since '07. But like, I mean, it's kind of crazy because like once they got going, it was touchdown. It was a drive touchdown, drive touchdown, drive touchdown, drive. And it was just like you're not going to stop them. I
Mm.
think that team's really scary. But the
Dominant
thing,
performance.
the thing about the Bucks, though, we saw this last year in regular season, and then what does Brady do when it comes? Because if this is the NFC Championship, what happened last year? Look
Yeah.
at it. So like, am I
This
gonna
feels like one of those early Saints games almost.
I think it is. Does the loss mean anything when I look forward to the Rams Bucks? No. Does this win mean a lot to the Rams? I think it means more for the Rams than it would have the Bucks. Okay, like I think it just kind of puts like, hey, listen, all this hype is real, and like now you look at that trade they did for Stafford is like this is why we traded for him because he takes this offense, McVay's offense, to the next level.
Oh yeah, and I mean the one thing I would be scared about is that we really haven't seen someone because like I feel like it's unfair to say that the Cowboys like torched the Bucks defense. I thought that Dak just made some good plays in that game to keep him hanging around.
And the Bucks turned over the ball like a couple times.
The only time we really saw someone torch him was that Mahomes Chiefs game, and then the Bucks came back in the second half. There was no comeback really to be had here. Like you said, there was kind of just that garbage time touchdown. This was um, almost just a 34-17 game. Dude, that's the one thing. It's like when the Saints beat them last year, the Saints just kind of stymied the Bucks offense, and then that kind of carried Drew Brees. They had a couple of drives to win and have like a commanding win.
Yeah, but
But it's not like the Saints were like moving the ball.
the Rams offense was like, yeah, you're gonna have to keep up with us, more
Exactly.
like
And
that.
dude, it was the entire game. The Bucks defense last year when they made the changes the second half against the Chiefs at least stopped them,
No,
right?
there was, I
There was
mean,
no stopping the Rams.
if anything, their offense got better in the second half.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's the only reason I would be scared if I'm rooting for the Bucks or have a Super Bowl bet is like the Bucks did not have an answer really on either side of the ball, which we have not seen, even though we've seen the Bucks struggle. It was mainly on one side of the ball in a lot of these games. We
I
haven't
mean,
seen like a full-on game where they've struggled.
the Rams have looked explosive every game besides like the Colts game where they were held to like 23 points.
Yeah. Next game, Steelers Bengals. I don't even want to talk about it. Bengals, you guys have this one. I crapped on you a lot this season. Got a long way to go, dude. We are so banged up. It's ridiculous. We're playing like a third string team out there, and Ben Roethlisberger's out there just getting killed.
Yeah,
Offensive line sucks. Najee Harris forgot how to run the ball. Receivers are all getting hurt. Defense is all getting hurt. It's Cam Hayward and Minka against the world.
hey man,
Dude, we took a fat L.
and the Bengals should be 3-0.
I will say this: the X factor for the Bengals, and the reason I mainly didn't believe in them was that I didn't think their defense would be as good as their defense looks very good. It looks very dominant. They're physical, and if they keep playing like that, it's going to carry 'em. The offense actually struggled against the Steelers for the most part. I mean, and Burrow was
Besides
getting
Jamar Chase.
protected. Yeah, but like, dude, the Steelers gave him so many chances to score. Like, you're gonna eventually score. It's the NFL. It's not like that offense is terrible, terrible. But without T. Higgins, it really felt like the Bengals offense missed a step. But dude, if that defense plays like that every game, they'll be in every football game. So hats off to the
Mhm.
Bengals. I was wrong for now. For now. And the Steelers are just banged up. Once they get guys back, I don't expect all these struggles to continue. Maybe offensively, because that offensive line is Swiss cheese. Do you have any thoughts on that game?
No, I think you covered it. It's your team.
Um, Packers Niners last game. Man, Aaron Rodgers looked really, really on point, especially that last drive, 38 seconds. Like that's just a classic Rodgers regular season game right there.
Well, I was
Uh,
even saying when Juszczyk scored there, I was like, dude, you should have just went down and then just clicked away, and then because I even 38 seconds, like
yeah,
a
but
lot of
dude,
people would
38
say
seconds, man.
that
Like
doesn't
that's just
feel that.
incredible.
I feel like that's a lot of time for Aaron Rodgers. I just think that
Yeah, but no timeouts, 38 seconds, man. Like
yeah, I mean, like he's the former MVP. He's gonna rip two big plays, and boom, there you go. You're right there.
um Packers look good. They're back. They're
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about
He did give
the
up a 17 nothing
the
lead.
49ers offense, like it just you had that one drive at the end of the first half that you finally got some points on the board, which was big and one of the big reasons they were able to stay in that game. But
Yeah, because they were able to get the ball back and score.
um
Yeah, but like
obviously not having any of the running backs was like a big issue for the 49ers
I
offense
thought
for a
Jimmy
large part of
G's
the game.
terrible. I like I'm not Jimmy. Maybe it was like the really beginning part of that game. Like I don't know, man. It's just misplay after misplay, and I would be annoyed by it. Like I don't think Trey Lance could do any better right now. But like
Yeah, there lies the rub is that I'm not sure that Trey Lance fully starting a game is gonna because like Jimmy G, okay, he's not gonna play the best. He's gonna make mistakes and whatnot, and he's not gonna have those crazy plays. But I mean, let's not act like he shouldn't have had a comeback win against a really good Packers team that game,
yeah,
right? Like
hundred
he
percent.
plays well enough, and he's gonna put that team in positions to win games. It's just damn, Aaron Rodgers saved you. It was crazy the fact that the Packers actually ended up losing that game at the end because I felt like even when the
They were in
Niners
total
took the lead at
control.
the end, it felt like the Packers were still winning.
Yeah, like I really don't like understand. Maybe it was just that quick change, and then they got it. Like their 49ers defense played better in that second half, but it was like, well, I think the thing is like Packers were driving down the field a couple times, but the 49ers just held them to field goals.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to be able to punch it in, the 49ers capitalized that. And then, like, eventually they took the lead. I don't know. I thought it was a really good game, though. Sunday night is, and besides week one, has been pretty rock solid on their games. And then this week you got, Brady versus Belly.
I'll tell you what though, Trent Williams, that 49ers left tackle, is a stud. Some of the
Hmm.
highlights that he has, dude, he's throwing guys around. I'll tell you what, the freaking the no chopping rule, like the no below the knees for defenders and offensive players, clearly has helped out Trent Williams the most because he is just taking I mean, first off, the fact that he's old, I'm pretty sure he's had a bunch of knee injuries, but he's moving in space like that. God forbid he puts a finger on you and he's just like throwing guys,
Yeah.
like force pushing them.
Finally saw a decent game out of Kittle, though.
Yeah.
So,
It's dude, like okay, Kittle hasn't had the flashy plays and whatnot, but dude, I mean, you look at some of the plays he has, and like especially as a blocker, Kittle
mhm.
still looked really good. We're only bound to see more good Kittle performances, them getting the ball in his hands and him making plays, especially if we see Ayuk finally. We saw
Ayuk
Ayuk get
finally,
out of
well, yeah,
jail.
Ayuk finally made some plays. I thought that was good to see. I don't know. I thought the 40 like both teams are really good. Both are playoff teams. That was a playoff game. Um, because we could easily be sitting here and say 49ers last minute win, last
Yeah.
second win. Like that
And
game is
just
either
three
or.
and 0, no problems, all good in San Francisco, you know?
Yeah, and then I'd still say the Packers are probably going to win too. But
And
I think it's just a good
the
game.
49ers just signed Richard Sherman, so maybe that improves on their secondary. Because I mean, Devonte Adams was Devonte Adams again that last game,
We got like
and
20,000 targets.
you got to remember too that didn't they not call that penalty when he got cracked in the head on
Oh
that deep
yeah.
ball? Like I don't know how that wasn't a penalty. So like that could have been more points for the Packers right there.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't call that, and I didn't think he
He
was gonna
got
get up.
walloped.
It's like he like sat on the ground for a while.
I'll tell you what, if the Packers are home, they're getting that call, guaranteed.
Hmm. Well, the fans will get into that one.
Yeah, I think 100%. It's funny. There's a statistical study I was reading the other day that with home field advantage in the modern era, um, home field advantage actually doesn't really impact the teams, but it impacts the refs. The
Mm.
home teams get way more leniency, and the away teams are getting called more.
They just don't want to get booed.
So, and it hasn't shown. I don't think it showed up as much in the COVID games, clearly, but yeah, it seems that that's the big impact of the home field advantage is that you get that little bit of extra push from the refs. But
Mm.
so are we going to be recording the picks on Friday here, or are we going to
Yeah,
be doing
yeah.
it on Saturday? All right,
I'm good to go on Friday.
Friday night.
Hmm.
All right, so we're going to be recording pick. We recorded Saturday last time. We're going to actually be recording the picks Friday night. That is going to happen. Um, we're Steed. I imagine you want to get back in on the college football because Steed went 4-0 on his college football picks last week. Um, and it wasn't even just a 4-0. Like you were on some of those dogs that you took,
Yeah, they won
covering like
outright.
multiple touchdowns on the spread.
Yeah,
I, on
I
the other hand, had a rough week, which is unfortunate. My first losing week on the game picks.
I'm gonna have to look at the board for some of these college because the lines are starting to get tighter now. I do like
Yeah,
Arkansas plus 18.5 though.
that's. I don't really
A lot
know
of
who to take
points.
for that game. That Georgia Arkansas game. That's going to be interesting.
I'm gonna be
Just
rooting
because
for
I just don't like Georgia coming off a bye.
well, basically a bye.
It's a bye, man.
It's Vandy. I mean, like, yeah, the first
You're
string.
not game planning for Vandy. You're going in there licking your chops, getting some extra stats for the data analytics folk come draft time.
Yeah, that's like when you play NCAA and you face up against FCS East. You're doing that for like so one of your players gets the Heisman. You throw a
Yeah,
couple
you're
like
just running up the score a
you
little
get like 12 touchdowns. Be like, okay, and that's good enough.
bit. Yeah. The first half you're scoring 7 touchdowns. Like, okay, everyone on the offense gets a touchdown. Mr. Tight End guy, you get 2. That stud Georgia tight end, and yeah, then we could put the relievers in
Yeah,
the recruits, the freshmen.
the
Um,
walk-ons at that
yeah,
point.
yeah, walk-ons at that point come fourth quarter. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Hit us with a subscribe on the tube. Hit us with a subscribe or a follow on the podcast platforms. We really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging around with us. Peace out.